What's up, boys and girls, guys and gals? How you doing? Let me see what's going on. What's up, Kevin Hawthorne? How are you? Coming in the chat. You guys, I'm doing this live today. You guys know that I've been trying to bring a lot of the weekly audio podcasts. So I know that some of you know there's a lot of things going on this channel. But the original thing I was doing was the website. The next thing was the audio podcast. And I'm trying to bring that over on a weekly basis. I can't always say it'll be live because a lot of times these are pre-recorded. But when I do that and I do a premiere on here, I always for these I'm in the chat. But I know you guys like the live, so I'm having a little trouble with my mic here today. Hopefully that sounds all right. Hopefully you guys are doing good. Let's see who ends up in here. And I got some topics to talk about, but I'm also open to talk about whatever you guys want to. So bring it up. Smack that like. Let's get it moving up in the algorithm a little bit. Okay, what should we start off with today? Okay. So we've got the FTC looking into Uber's anti-competitive business practices. Know that one. That's a big one. We got the Minnesota Uber Lyft driver who was running the advocacy group is now in a lawsuit for fraud, as he has taken many of the drivers and taken dues from them and things he wasn't supposed to be doing. And yet he was supposed to be the advocacy with the one behind let's get you better paid and all that just happened. We've been saying here for a while on rodeo related content that, we've seen this fail in every state. So how far do we expect it to go? But it's just weird that upon its launch, we're already looking into the main guy. I think it's Edeli is his name. And he was involved in fraud. That's just, okay, there we are. Let's see. We got California bill that is talking about the confusion of how Prop 22 will be paid out now. And actually, because of the last ruling, do the companies even have to pay Prop 22 anymore? And trust me, they have now gone back to full lawyers looking into this because they think there's an out of having to do Prop 22 because there's no enforcement in a legal term. I'm talking about too. It's not, it's not just like, hey, they're not enforcing this, let's do this. No, they actually found in the context of the way this all played out that now the way it is, there's no legal enforcement. So I don't know, smack a like, guys. I don't know if you're in here. Again, these counts end up getting so weird. I never can tell. And I don't know. But let's see who we can get in here. I do want to talk about the DoorDash thing that we mentioned it on the roundtable. I mentioned it a couple weeks ago that it was going to happen. It did. And things are happening here too. Let's see, what else do we got? Probably hit on a couple little stories. You got a funny one here about a lady that needed to get to JFK Airport in New York City, and she was quoted $131 for an Uber X, which for those of you that don't know, that's the entry level rideshare, just Uber X. And for $29 more, she was able to catch a helicopter from 30th Street where she was near a subway. There's a pickup there, and she was able to catch a helicopter that took her 5 minutes to get to JFK Airport instead of the 70 minutes it was going to take in the car for only $29 more. Kind of ridiculous. And what else was there? We'll see how far we get into these. We got police involved in, I guess, what is still being called Uber Connect. I don't know. You guys, if you're in here, leave a comment. I'm getting a totally bad count. I don't have the best signal. I'm not working in my studio today. I'm in my bedroom where I don't like to do the podcasting from. But I'm going to do it this way today because it's still really hot in my house, and going live. I'm hoping that more people end up showing up in here. Again, I did not put much preempt on this. I put the post out like, letting the feed know that I was going to be live at 4:10, like at 20 minutes ago. So we'll see if it just takes a minute to pick up or what it does, but it would help by smacking that like if you're coming in. Let me see. Let me try and get this pulled up so I can at least stay along with you guys with some chat outside of StreamYard. I love seeing you guys in here. If you're just listening, shout out hello, and even if whatever, just shout out hello, because I also like to see who has wrenches, who doesn't, and yeah. Um, so I'm looking for interaction today. I actually have a backup audio podcast that I always have one ready to roll. So I have one ready to roll tomorrow if this doesn't pan out to be something that I use. But nonetheless, this is a week I'm here for you guys. So get involved. Let's talk. You guys always have lots of questions you send me, and I'm not blaming you, because today was, pretty quick that I just did this on the fly. But hopefully some of you will come in, and the number's not changing, but I see Kevin Hawthorne and Bubba Sue in here. How you guys doing? But hit that like. Let's get some more people in here. And any questions you have, let's talk about them as we go along, because there's really I don't have to follow a certain, I'm not following a certain um, rhythm today. I've just got a lot of things here, and we can talk about whatever we can get through of them. So I'm happy to do that. Let's see. Okay, guys. But I know this count is not right. It's just been sitting at 2. Maybe it is, but that's very weird. And if it is, I definitely feel like I'm being throttled, because I know that there's usually 9, 10, 11 in here in the first minute at least. So something gets weird, man. I don't know what happens with some of this stuff. Was my tag bad? I don't know. Here we go though. Let's see. I'm gonna go to have this on so I can communicate with y'all. And let's go. Okay. So which one should we start with here? Let's start with the Okay, let's start with the Uber Connect, as far as I can tell. I mean, I already looked at this, but I don't even think it used the word. Again, it's just another of Uber's pieces in the puzzle. I learned a new word the other day, and it was basically relevant to what it was like, a vessel or a business that is conducting many businesses, some of which are untested and things like that. And of course, what did that mean to me? That meant Uber. I mean, like, literally Uber Connect. This story I'm about to tell you, if you guys are new to the rideshare or the Uber platform, or even if you're not and you've never heard of it, or it's never been to your market, or you've only been doing it a couple of years. I've been on it since 2015. I can tell you since 2018, this has been a feature they release and unrelease, and it's called Uber Connect. It's most commonly known as, even non-jokingly, I mean, with police and things, it's known as, Uber drug dealer. It just is. But so we've got a person in Dunmore, what is it? Dunmore, Pennsylvania? Dunmore, Pennsylvania. Man uses Uber to distribute various drugs. Hey, Lisa, how are you? So a narcotics investigation revealed a man was using Uber to distribute drugs from his home in Dunmore. Now it gets kind of weird. The Dunmore Police Department conducted a narcotics investigation in the area over the weekend. Through the investigation, they learned that Stephen Morris of Dunmore was using Uber to pick up and drive various drugs to people. Now, here's where the story gets a little strange. So, in the affidavit, the Uber driver was being called to the Dunmore house. Okay. And the mom of this person was at the house. And so she was giving a bag, like a grocery bag, that not like we use from delivering food, but just one that you would get from the grocery store, might be using instead of plastic or paper. But she was using like those, putting bottles of water and uncooked rice in the bags. This is a mom, and she was saying to the Uber driver, "This is going to my son." So it looked almost like a care package. Okay, and there's a couple other things in it too. But what happened, the real deal was that inside of the uncooked rice packets was cocaine, crack, marijuana, guns, money, um, heroin, methamphetamine, basically everything. And they were sending it all through these rice bags. And so, I mean, imagine again, everybody, here's why I bring this up. People that do Uber Connect, and there's not a lot, but every once in a while we're doing a live and I see somebody in the live who's like, I do Uber Connect and I've never had a problem with it. Okay, so that's why I'm bringing this up because doesn't, but other than what really happened, doesn't this seem probably like the type of scenario you'd be talking about where you're like, I'm not that concerned about it. It's a mom sending their kid a care package. Exactly. That's what this was. And now you're probably wondering, but why would I go to jail? I didn't do it. I'm just A to B, and I took it through the Uber app. And like I hear from a lot of people, and I always set them straight, just because it's on the Uber app does not make it legal. And that is true. I know that some people go, dude, you got to be wrong because they wouldn't have it on the app if it wasn't legal. Absolutely they would, because you're an independent contractor. They are just putting out offers for you. Well, it doesn't need to see, that's where people I think get a little confused. It doesn't need to be rideshare. It doesn't need to be food delivery. It doesn't need to be shop and pays. It doesn't need to be Uber Connect. It doesn't matter what it is. Uber can put any services they want in here. We saw Uber, like somebody told me, well, during the Olympics, they're going to have Uber Boat to move you around Europe. Guess what, guys? They had Uber Boat in 2018. I know this because I'm originally from Michigan, and you could rent boats around the Great Lakes through Uber. They took that away. They tried it in a different state. They took that away. They tried it in London 2 years in 2022 to take over one of the famous ships, and knowing it was going to fail. Basically, all it was doing was letting you book the tickets through this famous ship, and it was getting them more customers. But they made this extremely old famous ship that goes around London, put Uber on the side and cover up the name of its 200-year history. So it was a big ad for them, and then they got out. So, Uber Ski. Yeah, Uber Ski, I don't know if they still, like, I know you might not still have it, Lisa. I don't know about here. They might. I would need to look because, I mean, we kept that one longer, but this is the Rockies. Um, Really all it meant was, to me, whenever I saw Uber Ski, I knew, oh, so skis and snowboard for an extra $10. And usually those, you're taking them a long way too. You're taking them from the airport to like Summit County. That's the closest. And that's a good hour 15. Now, if you're going to Aspen, that's 2.5 hours. So, I mean, is it worth an extra $10? I can tell you, as somebody who takes my gear in my car, on a roof rack, all this stuff, I can tell you that even on the roof rack, it has, you can't drive as fast. It has, it has like a little bit of a slow, and it gets windy up there, and it affects your driving performance. It's definitely, to me, I don't need the Uber Ski verification. I just need that they have that equipment, and you guys, just tip me real good. I'd at least say something like that because I got your gear, and I'd at least make sure we're on the same page about that. Like, I don't know. I don't need the $10 from Uber saying, hey, this is an Uber Ski deal. You should be thankful we got this to you. No, I'm not, in fact, and you had to prove you had a ski rack on there. We know they have Uber Pet, and I mean, for God's sakes, I am not promoting this. I need to make sure this cannot be twisted. They have Uber Teen. You guys know how I feel about that. They bought Drizzly. So they are in charge of the gig app's liquor license, because like DoorDash has to go through Uber to get to Drizzly. And that is how it has to work. So it's like, it's so confusing. They buy all these companies like Autonomous. They've been in there like 9 times. They've bought the company Yandex. This is just one company that's like not even in the top 50 autonomous companies in the world. But Yandex is a Russian company that does autonomous. They've bought them and sold them back twice. My point here being that everything with Uber is a test. So realize, I see like Bubba Sue saying, connect, no thanks. I agree. Uber Teen, no way. I agree. But here's the thing. Don't think you're seeing these and wow, Uber has all these options and they're legal. Great. you guys, I need you to believe and at least look into it yourself. That's my challenge. Do you really think that everything that they're offering on the platform is legal? Th- don't think it has to be either. I mean, Uber Connect turned out to be not just this story, but in every instance it launched, it was a drug dealing mechanism. That's all it's been. I mean, in fact, most of the time when they shut it down, they're saying like the only reason it's even being used is by drug dealers, straight up. So like the bottom line is you're the independent contractor. You're the one that's going to be doing the work. You make the decisions because you might be bonded to do this. And if you're not bonded, you probably aren't supposed to be doing much of what you're doing on Uber. You can probably do the ride share. It depends. Hopefully, you have a good insurance company. Um, and hopefully, you've looked into the insurance. You don't have to have full commercial, but even without it, if you have a good one, but I'm not giving insurance advice here. But ride share, food delivery, shopping pays, those are pretty simple. But when they start branching out with these new things and saying, hey, for $3, you can do Uber Connect, don't do it. You guys all remember John Dash? He used to be a regular on the round table, still a good friend of the channels and Dash Theory TV on YouTube. He did an Uber Connect that was like a C to C at 2 a.m, like one apartment to the other. And it was very sketchy what he took. Then he did one other one, and that's it, which had him go to a house where people put in like 4 packages into his trunk. And then he went to the post office, took the 4 packages in. And if you guys have been to the post office in the past many years, you know that you have to, it doesn't matter if you're the delivery person or not. You have to sign that nothing is explosive or hazardous or whatever in these packages. These were completely sealed boxes that were handed to him. So how would you know? How? And so I asked him, I said, what did you end up doing? And he was like, well, I was there. I just signed for it and decided I wouldn't do any more. I mean, great. I'm glad he did. John, good job. Not don't do anymore. But what happens about that one? Because everybody always says to me, well, Uber is on the hook because they set that. No, they're not. In fact, almost not at all. And you guys should know this by now. They're very good at just saying, well, you're the independent contractor driver, deal with it. Like the fact they say they have you covered as a driver for up to $1 million is true. If their team can't prove that they can get out of it. Sadly, that is how they look at it. And even like if you're just doing rideshare or food delivery, if there's a claim that says that, okay, well, I was working Uber, I need you guys to have my back. The first thing they do is send out a team, not to investigate and to make sure that you're taken care of correctly. The team that investigates first is to see if there's any wiggle room to make it so that they don't have to pay a dime or be involved and leave it all on your hands. Therefore, you are 100% an independent contractor and act as such. Please be an independent contractor. Be one. I've been listening to a lot of Jeff lately, Mike Drop Barbecue. We've been trying to find the right time. Like if he drops in here today, I'm dropping a StreamYard link and he's coming up here because I want Jeff on here. We've wanted to do something for a while, but he always promotes what I've been promoting for years too, of like, and like Mike Harubi and I do every week, be my own boss, because you already are. It's just some of you don't know it yet. I mean, you do, but I think that, like I've said many times, I think many of you just think it's the flexibility and that part of the freedom that's like, well, I'm an independent contractor. I can work when I want, and that's all I need. Well, guess what? Since you're held to all the responsibilities of being an independent contractor, why don't you be an independent contractor and assume what could be the profitable end of it too? Get your own customers for everything. You guys know I have a dumpling account and I often smack myself for it. I say, listen, why am I not building this dumpling thing bigger? Because all of my clients, even the ones who don't tip the best, still, those are all the best paying things I do. Even if they don't tip, they just use my whatever 20%. And that's a whole nother story how dumpling works. And they have this dumpling vacation thing that I'm trying to get into now, where you kind of work with Airbnbs. Sounds great. But I need to really be putting more time into that, because you know what? Why sit on these apps and wait for $2 offers? when you can be thinking outside the box at this point, and you should be, like hit up, like text, or, like hit up your customers. Start building something. It doesn't have to be rideshare people. Be building up your B2B. I work Curry. I work all these other apps. You guys know that. And I'm very happy with Curry. I'm not happy with Roadie. I do use it from time to time as a little crutch. If I'm coming home and I'm deadheading back from somewhere and there's a roadie that's something, I mean, it can't be complete crap because just out of my own personal beliefs, I can't do that. But I mean, if it's something, I'll do it. If okay, I'll do this. But it usually, like, I try and find anything I can to not do it. Metrobi works for me. Curry works for me. But again, and still at the same time, I'm my own boss. If I'm constantly going to the same place, I'll use Metrobi for a minute. Okay. If I find that with Metrobi, I'm constantly going to the same place, and they're like, and often, remember, this is B2B. I'm just giving you an example. These people talk pretty openly in front of me once they know you a bit. Like, gosh, like, unless you come, we've had some really bad experiences with Metrobi. Well, that's a bad sign. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like, okay, well, Metrobi isn't like, so the other people coming are pissing them off. When they see me, they're happy. So am I stealing the business from Metrobi, or am I just selling them on me? Because it sounds like, to me, I guess maybe I'm not putting the whole scenario out there, but here's the thing. You can always, like, if they're looking at you and they're like, God, when you come, it gets done right. You can talk to them. You can say, listen, like, if you need something every day at a certain time, and you're willing to do it, work it out with them. You're an independent contractor. And the reason I'm bringing up the B2B is because clearly with Uber, DoorDash, I don't know how much you can do with the DoorDash stuff, but if you have, if you want to put something in there, like I do shopping too, hit me up. And you just want to put a QR code and a card or a flyer or something, whatever, staple it to the bag. I used to not try and promote that. And I'm not telling you to do it, but I'm telling you, if you want to start upping your game a little bit, you should, because we all only live once. We're trying to make the best of this gig economy. And if nothing else, I was a traditional independent contractor long before the gig apps. So a little different for me, but if the gig apps have given you that experience and now you're at a point where you can say, but you know what? I do want to have my own shopping clients, and there's no reason Instacart should be charging more for the product than a service fee, then this, then this, then this, then this, and giving me $6. You know, I mean, you could put it into the rideshare realm too, and say, listen, open up either rideshare app. If you get a customer who really likes you, you can say, open up either rideshare app, and whichever is the lowest price at that time, I'll charge you 70% and I'll take you direct. Or you can come up with flat rates. So you can do anything you want. You're an independent contractor, run your own business. Just make sure your accounting is correct, but start stepping. Like, I've really not pushed this enough, and I need to start pushing it more. On the audio podcast I have, but I want to make sure, that's why we're live here today, because I wanted to bring up the fact that this kind of stuff goes on. If you're going to be delivering a package for Uber Connect, which is not covering you at all if something's illegal going on in there, not at all. So if that's the case, and you're for $2 more than a normal food delivery, you're going to take packages that are sealed up to the United States Post Office, which is a federal offense if you break it. If there's any liquid or flammables or anything which you don't know in that box, you're going to be blamed, not Uber, and you are going to be the one that has to deal with it. You took it. It's on you. And you can say that's not how it'll play out, but it is 100% how it'll play out. Uber has a team ready on call to shoot down any ideas about, do we have to pay this? No, let's send a team in and find a reason why we don't have to be involved in this. Okay. Here we go. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about this. This is really disturbing to me. And I think that a lot of people are getting the wool pulled over their eyes. So Prop 22 in California was very clear that it would be 120% of the of minimum wage, which varies in California, but 120% of wherever you live or wherever you're working in that market, 120% for active time. This was put into place in late 2019. It was in law on January 1st of 2020. And when it went into effect, um, Hmm. So 120% of an active hour. And remember, in January of 2020, we were not in the pandemic yet. We're still 10, 11 weeks out from even knowing about it. So this had all been arranged, not knowing about anything about a pandemic. So this is what they come up with, this horrible idea. It killed millions of businesses in California. We know the damage it did, but Prop 22 was a little bit of a save for the gig worker. However, um, 120% of minimum wage for active time when there was no delivery. I mean, there was. Don't quote me because I'm not saying there weren't the platforms there were, but the delivery platforms, even in California, were not doing well in end of 2019. They didn't start jamming anywhere. Maybe they were doing better than in other states, but even in California, they weren't jamming. They weren't jamming until the pandemic. And then come the pandemic, they started killing it. But so AB5 and Prop 22 were all wrote around rideshare. And if you really look at Prop 22, they threw out a couple stipends, but you can go to healthcare marketplace and get Obamacare for the same amount of money as um, you can get through the plan. You got this little stipend. You got to check every 2 weeks if your active time money pre-tips wasn't 120% of minimum wage. So let's say that in San Francisco's minimum wage is 1980 something, 1982, $19.82. That's the highest in the state. So let's call it 20 bucks. 20% would mean $24. So that's the highest in the state. So on an active hour, you need to be paid $24. Well, for rideshare in San Francisco, on an active hour, you will be paid more than $24 for your time. You're going to make more than $24. So you'll get no Prop 22 money, period. But if when March rolled around and the CARES Act went into effect and the delivery apps were now affected by it and the shopping apps, meaning Instacart, DoorDash, Uber Eats, all of a sudden the pandemic happened and they were just brought into Prop 22. So I'm making this clear because don't ever think Prop 22 had that in mind when they started that. They didn't even think about that because that wasn't even on their radar. Then in the flip of a switch in like one day, March to April, it was like, okay, there's no more rideshare rides of it. Nobody needs rideshare because everybody's on stay-at-home orders, but everybody needs groceries and food. So it started booming. All of a sudden, the companies were like, or the state was like, well, wait, you're under Prop 22. So now it became all these $2 DoorDash orders had to pay $24 an active hour in San Francisco. So you can imagine the difference. They had the rideshare worked out where really no money was being paid out to the rideshare drivers because that's how much they already made. So they were just proving their point. But now they're having to do it with Instacart and all these others, and it just turned into a crap show. Well, then other states started looking at it. So now what? So then we've got Minnesota. We've got Colorado looking at it. We got Seattle with their pay up legislation, and we will come back to that in 1 second. We got New Jersey looking at it. We've got New York. New York's in it already, and New York's in it deep too. New York City's in it real deep. I mean, just nightmare problems. And then we have BC now. And I know that I got to mention it again. I said it on 13 minutes, but I got to say it again. There were some people that were a little thrown that I knew about that. Again, I had just been talking to some people. I knew that this was coming about. I thought it was going to be BC and Quebec provinces at the same time. It wasn't. It was just British Columbia, but Quebec is not far behind it, which if you watch the roundtable, you know, Cheyenne, who's on at Gig Work Mama, she's in Montreal. So I want to real quickly just run through that. So same thing up there, they call active time engaged time. That's the only difference really. And engaged time is 120% of BC's minimum wage, which is $17.40. 120% of that is $20.88. So the gig apps in British Columbia as of last Wednesday. So this is just recent. The law was passed earlier this year, but it just went into effect. And as of now, $20.88 is 120% of the minimum wage. So on what did I just call it? Engaged time. Not it's engaged and active are the same. But during engaged active time, so from the time you accept something, meaning driving to it, picking it up, delivering it, the whole thing of getting it done, is engaged time, you are paid 120%. And the 20 finally got in the news for its rationale, which is kind of, I love it because I've always known it, but this kind of proves the point. I was always like, why? I don't like it anyway. I don't, the active time minimum wage, we're independent contractors. There should be no minimum wage. This is just ridiculous. I know some of you might disagree, but I just ask you to hear me out. Because if you disagree and you like it, great. I'm not against that and you. I want you guys to be happy. However, I'm going to tell you why I think it's awful. Which now they're saying the rationale for the 20%, meaning why isn't it just the 1740 that everybody is paid minimum wage? Well, here's why. So the 20% is in British Columbia anyway is finally being categorized, so we can categorize it down here, which we've always known, but they're actually saying it. The 20% is a premium for the waiting time. Meaning, so they're paying you for the active time, $17.40 an hour, which is their minimum wage, but they're going to pay you $20.88 per engaged time, knowing that you're wasting some time in between offers, meaning they are fully, almost to some level, fully paying you for just your time on the app, however you look at it. I mean, unless you're never active, but even if you're active a little, what the hell, dude? So, okay, so here we go. So 120% is 2088. You guys might be saying, yeah, but there's other states, there's other cities doing as much or worse than that. Maybe, but here's the difference. In British Columbia and soon to be Quebec, same thing, the 2088. However, you are also paid 45 cents per kilometer for rideshare and 35 cents per kilometer for Doordash deliveries, and that includes e-bikes and scooters. They're paying you mileage on those too. So here's how that breaks down. If one of the biggest things said to us by a lot of Canadian gig workers is a lot of the deliveries are too far. I know all of us have encountered that on the door. If any of us work the DoorDash platform, we all know this too well. Yeah, okay. We see far orders all the time. In British Columbia and Quebec, they see them even more because a lot of it leaving the city gets into these areas that can be pretty far. So nobody wants them even when they're decent pay because you got to come back and all this other stuff. So if you can even locally or whatever, if you can drive 30 kilometers in an hour and do 2 active hour deliveries in British Columbia right now, which I'm going to be honest, that should be doable if you're willing to take whatever, which you should be because they don't tip like we do here. And the tips are outside of that. I am not for earned by time at all. But this is a very different earned by time, and I'm still not for it because I think there's a trap to it. But if you can do that right now and you just take everything that comes at you, you will make $30 an hour. I know that's pre-expenses and stuff like that, but most people these days on the food delivery platforms are not on a regular average basis for the week clearing $30 an hour. And I mean that is it is active engaged hour, what I'm talking about, but because of the scenario they've created, you can stay active and engaged the whole time. So, I mean, this can become real time up there. So they're going to pay you $30 an hour. See, to me, that's some crazy law because the companies can't afford that. So at some point, they're going to have to throttle, back off, desaturate, all the things that we would love to see, but at the same time, they're going to up the prices on customers. They can't even afford it at this rate, though, at all. I mean, it just can't be done. So I don't know. I'm not for these. I wanted to point it out though, because again, it's starting to really show to you guys. It should be showing to you guys that, we're not. You should be getting your own clients. You should be doing your own thing. Have other, Kim's always, I'm definitely right there with her, but one of her main plugs that she says on things we do, collabs, is that, you got to have many streams of income. I understand that some people don't feel like they do, but find them. dude, get on Etsy, do something. Find something, like go to dollar stores and buy things and start an eBay store and start selling stuff. Find other stream, even if you're like it barely makes anything. Fine, have 10 streams of income coming in. I work on this all the time. Instead of just building on one or two, I'm all the time looking for how else can I be taking in some money. I mean, that's what I don't know. Cause that way also the one of the best parts to me is if one of the pieces ever falls apart, I'm not in the position of I'm screwed. I'm more in a position of, all right, well, at least I got the other nine. So I can refill it with something else. So um hey Lisa Reinhardt, how are you doing? So that was the California, or that was the oh, I did want to end it with this. So the pay up legislation in Seattle, for those of you in Seattle, I read a bunch of articles on this, and I want to bring this one up if I can. Um, I don't see it now, but I do know it pretty well. So 26.40 is the active time minimum wage in Seattle for gig work. And I've told you guys many times the customers are not ordering, the volume is way down on the apps because they've been past the city council fee of $5 per order. All the prices on the menus have been jacked up. All the prices, the fees have been jacked up, and they're all hidden. And the drivers are not being paid more. There's less orders. The city council was told to remove the pay up legislation. Oh, because the biggest part is they're taking it out on the customers, the drivers. Okay, that's bad enough. But now we have proof, because year to year, for the first 9 months of the year, or first 8 months of the year, because we're just starting month 9, last year to this year, the restaurants in Seattle are down over $30 million in revenue. And that's just their app revenue, meaning people are just not using them. And again, we can blame the apps too. They raised the prices. It's almost like they make it worse. Like, okay, this is a great time for us to raise the prices, get more out of the customers until they get rid of these stupid laws. Well, city council is passed that pay up legislation. City council has now been told to back off and get rid of that crap, and has been for about 3 months. I finally found out this weekend why they haven't. So Seattle is now actually going all in and saying, you know what? Not only are we not going to remove, now hopefully this will get taken down, because I think most people who are going to watch this podcast understand basic economics and why this can't work. We would all love it too, guys. Look, I would love it. California leaders have said, elect me and I'll make the minimum wage $50 an hour. That's not doable. Gavin Newsom lies all the time. He says that, California is energy independent and everybody can have an electric vehicle. They can have chargers at their house. They can restructure the infrastructure of the state so that everybody can have electric vehicles. Well, then last year, why for a 3-day period? I mean, there were other periods where it was timed, but why last year for a 3-day period did everybody in the state have to turn off their air conditioning? If you can't run air conditioning because of the grid in California, you can't have everybody powering electric vehicles. That makes, if anybody out here doesn't understand that, please raise your hand, and let's deal with that right now, because that's just basic to me. So they know it. They just lie. We know politicians lie as it is, but when they tell you $50, you like me, $50 an hour, they do put some like kind of like studies behind it. Like, well, we've shown that we can. No, you haven't. You're the most gross domestic product comes in from California. Yes, but you're not able to do that. You're in the hole. You're losing money. Your state is it's trashed. I have a lot of good friends in California, and I feel for them, because even they call me and tell me the horror stories now. And some of them are pretty high earners, not in the gig economy. And there's still like a couple of my very good friends are looking at leaving very soon. One of them is leaving for sure. He's just trying to get the details down, but it's become a place where people are, we all know this is not a shock, they're just leaving. But the thing with the pay up legislation that was a real trick here, almost like a Trojan horse type thing, was, hey, here's the amount for the gig economy workers. and for active time, and everybody's fighting over that. Now it's okay, well, not only are we not going to get rid of that, that's going to be the minimum wage for everybody in Seattle. So according to them, starting in October, meaning next month, they are going to pay $26.40 for any job you have at the bare minimum. And I'm not talking about just gig work. I'm talking about working at McDonald's, working here, working there. So if you, again, it sounds great. Hell, $26.40, make it 50. Let's make $50 an hour. No, nobody's not on board with that. We all love that idea. The problem is you got to make sense of it. And there is no sense to be made of it because first of all, first thing that happens right out of the gate, nobody can argue this. Mom and pops are out of business because even at their $18 minimum wage for workers now, they're struggling against the Amazons and everything else and the economy and everything. It's almost impossible to run a business. Well, if you have to move a hourly employee up to $26.40 an hour plus payroll plus unemployment insurance on that person, you're basically talking about the cost of a salaried employee for every employee you have. And that's just not doable. So what'll happen is one thing for sure that we've seen in past times, if you guys go back through labor law and what's gone on with things that try and do these maneuvers, the first thing they do when they have to jump up and pay those kind of rates, or places that have tried things like this, the very first thing that happens, and it sucks, is that the mom and pops have to try and stay in business. Even the mediums have to try and stay in business. What do? They take a full-time worker who's like, yes, finally, $18 to $26.40 an hour. And they're doing the math. They're like, I'm going to make this much more a week now. Well, they take your 40 hours and they turn it into 25 so that you're part-time. Therefore, they don't have to pay benefits. And now you don't get benefits. Now you got to go have another part-time job. You might still say, okay, but 2 25-hour jobs at, at $26.40, I'm gonna be making more money. Okay, now you're working 10 more than the 40 hours. You've lost your benefits. And again, you got to weigh those benefits in. Like when you're 19, 20, it's easy to go, I don't need the benefits. I'm fine. And maybe all you do need is catastrophic medical insurance. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I went a few years in my life where I might not have even had medical insurance. I'm just going to be honest here, honestly. And I mean, it's always good to at least have the catastrophic. But I guess my point here is don't think that they just can go, 26, 40, hell, 30. We'll pay you $35 for minimum wage an hour. Really? Because we all know what would happen. Everybody'd move there. But the problem is it's not just the cost of living. You could do that in rural America somewhere. The problem is everything's a balance sheet. And even when you have bad players and political losers involved, they still have to balance it and make it make sense. Because I mean to the point of balancing it where you've got to make sure you have the money to pay for it. I mean, these money doesn't just fall out of the air because they say that the new minimum wage is $26.40. And it doesn't fall out of the air to the business owners. It doesn't. So little places go under. We've already enough go under to Amazon as it is. Amazon claims that, no, you don't have to go under to us. In fact, we can let you sell on Amazon. No, dude, you're still taking too much. You put people out of business in so many different ways. Do I use Amazon? I do. I mean, I wish I didn't have to. I wish there was still more options. I wish more options became available in other ways, but they kind of took over. And, they did it under everybody's nose because they started off just selling some books online. Who knew that they'd be the global place to buy anything you want and undercut everybody and put everybody out of business? But, yeah, I mean, it's just, that is not doable. It's not sustainable. To me, when a city does that, it blows my mind because it's like, are people not on this city council who, I mean, there has to be people on the council who are like, this won't work. And it's like, well, we're going to do it anyway. But I mean, like, I could never sit on a city council and not get vocal. And if I had to quit, if that was what they were doing, I wouldn't put my name on that crap. Yeah, $26.40 an hour. Because I know all the bad. Even if you make it last for a year, let's say, and it's struggling, it's hurting, it's not working. Even if you make it last that year, it doesn't matter. Like during that year, you're going to put businesses under, you're going to have full-time employees that owners love not being able to get the hours they need. So they're going to have to go part-time elsewhere. They're not going to have their focus on that place anymore. You're just totally ruining society when you try and make these leaps and bounds and make it sound like this is doable. It's not doable. Like anybody with any understanding of economics knows this. It's not doable. You just, it's the same as we just can't print money. We overprint money, but you can't just print money and say we've fixed all these problems. That's not what's going on. Um, uh, what else did I want to talk to you guys about? Um, hmm, let's see. Mm, what is this one? Drivers. Oh, this was okay. This is weird. Are any of you guys? I know that Lisa's in here. She does some rideshare, or other people might too. Again, guys, I know this was at a strange hour, but it is what it is, man. At least we're live. Uh, but so do you guys know about I hate the fact that Uber even allows a cash feature. To me, that's insanity. To say that it's somebody's phone, so they've got they can we've got them by the phone. But why are you even allowing cash payments? Like, but so the policy of allowing cash payments basically has been pissing a lot of people off. And there's something that's been going on with rideshare drivers where riders are switching their um like are switching their payments to cash. And I think the idea there is to try and barter with you when they get to all I got's a 20. It's like 35 bucks. Like, oh my gosh. So like, why wouldn't you set that? That to me is going to be a scam. One of the things Uber had said in this article was, well, a lot of our drivers don't carry change. Yeah, no doubt, dude. If somebody pulls out 100 or a 50, even if I can verify that bill, I'm not changing it for you. Cause even if I have it on me, I feel like that's just this person getting ready to rob me. Like they don't need to know. Like, why would you need to give me 100, take your credit card off? Whose phone is this? What account is that? Like, you don't know anything. And so here's Uber's response to the driver's complaints about taking cash. And I don't even think it addresses it. It just creates more problems. But here's their response. Riders now have the option to switch from cash to card or any other payment before their trip ends. Huh? This is useful when riders don't have enough cash or the driver does not have enough change. Huh? There is nothing you need to do if a rider switches payment methods. We will notify you if they switch, and you will also see an update on your final payment screen. You will then be paid through the Uber driver app for these trips. No action is required from you. Okay, so wait a minute. So if I do cash rides, first of all, if I do one and I don't get killed, thank God, miracle, because probably more than half of the people are shot in the face for doing this. Um, so, but if I don't get killed and the person pays me and I give them the correct change, which I'm supposed to carry change, like now what? Now Uber's going to take off that amount from what they owe me the rest of the week? Because I mean, I got the cash. Like, okay, just wrong in every way. But the fact that you're able to switch this in real time during rides, it was put out in different ways. To the customers, it was put out as, oh my gosh, did you open your wallet and realize that you left your credit card at home? Or, oh my gosh, that like you can pay cash. And then for the cash people, they're saying, did you switch your Uber account to cash and now you realize you don't have enough cash on you and you can switch it back to card? First of all, you should not be able to do this. You should not be able to be doing switches. They should not be allowing cash. I carry 20 bucks on me in cash these days. I lived during a time when cash was king, like when everything was cash. But cash isn't used anymore. So like the fact of that people can switch back and forth is just allowing a scam. And to be honest, I would be I would almost treat it like Uber Teen. Cash rides, I just wouldn't take them. I would just be like, no, dude. I mean, if I hope it comes up and shows this is a cash ride, because I'd be like, hell no, dude. Are you kidding me? I don't trust you, Uber, and I don't trust these fake name accounts of people until I have them in my car and get to know them. Luckily, I at least know when it's a credit card, man, I'm getting paid crap for this ride. I shouldn't have taken. I should have waited for a little better of a pay one. At least I know that will be paid because it's a credit card, and if not, Uber has me. If there's a cash payment system, what am I believing in? Am I believing in the customer? Hell no. Their name could be, gangster, and their photo could be a pile of dog poop, and their rating could be 4.2. Why am I going to take cash from this person? Hell no. Please. And Uber, stop putting, Uber needs to start having an ethics class, or somebody, you know what? You want to make bank, because I don't have the time to do this. Or you want to have a blowing up YouTube channel, start the gig economy ethics channel and start calling these companies out and just doing it without their approval. Have ethics lessons on things going on the app. And if somebody actually started that, I'll help you even start it. I'll guest appear for, the first couple months, once every couple weeks or something. I'll make sure to help you get that thing kicked off right, because that could be a real channel that could slap this stuff around. And really, people are already getting opened eyes to social media, and investors are, and long-term investors. And like DoorDash, look at DoorDash last week. People can claim whatever they want about how it's doing in the market. All of its hard investors, all of its long-term investors are pulling everything they can out because they don't see anything in the future. Nothing. And I guess why would you? There are little stories like, oh, DoorDash is going to deliver for Mattress Firm. Big deal. You know what I mean? Big deal. How much Mattress Firm is being delivered? Really? I want to know. Because I really don't think it's much. But time will tell. But even if it is, whatever. It's just so stupid. But so DoorDash is simply a dispatch app for food delivery offers to independent contractors. So again, remember who you are. You're the independent contractor. You're the one that's responsible for anything you're putting in your car. And you can say again, well, the app will have my back, and I can explain to the police I was working. Yeah, go ahead, try. I've seen the stories, guys. And here's the thing: even the people who do end up like, well, dude, I didn't pack that Uber Connect. I had nothing to do with the bomb that was in that package that guy sent to that other guy, and I did not know what was in there. Playing I don't know doesn't work when you own a business, and you are your own business. Fact. Whether you like it or not, you are. Now, you might get a little leniency. I've seen some cases where bad stuff was going on the app and Uber Connect, and they actually were able to arrest the two parties involved. But I guarantee you're involved in that court case. To some level, it's going to affect your life. You're going to be involved in the court case. You might have to hire a lawyer. If Uber or DoorDash or whoever can wiggle their way out, and they will, you're going to definitely have to hire a lawyer, because you're not going to have anything to represent you. Your insurance, and once they walk away, your insurance company might just go, you know what? We're going to investigate this. Why were you doing all this? And what were you doing? Now they're going to look for their way out, So what's up, Brian? How are you? I was trying to see who else was in here. I almost touched oh, what's up, Cody? I wanted to say hi to you too, man. How are you guys doing? Glad you guys could join us. This was a little bit impromptu, but, so, okay, so we have that story. Let me see what else we got. And if you guys got anything that you want to know, ask me right now. It'd be a perfect day for it. So we talked about the helicopter, the cash, Uber Connect, the California AB5. Oh, you know what? We talked about it in one way, but I did want to mention to you guys what has happened. So let me see if I can put this together a night. So, California bill would force DoorDash Uber Eats to disclose hidden restaurant fees. That's kind of a big one. They're trying to do what Florida did and make it so that they have to put they it's a little different, but if I'm going to use Florida's here so that everybody understands. In Florida, the law they passed was all the platforms now have to use in-restaurant prices. So if they want to sell tacos or they want to sell burritos, they have to sell them on the same price in the restaurant as they do on the platforms. Now, the platforms can add all the fees they want, but they have to say that. Here's the price of the goods. Here's our fees. Because in Seattle and stuff, they're like, well, I mean, we've talked about this before. There's a place that sells these amazing chicken kebabs, I guess. They're very well known in the cities. 5 locations, and they're $9.50 or $9 if you go into the restaurant and get them. Through DoorDash, they are $18.50 a piece. That is over 100% markup extra, and that's for the item. That's not the fees. That's not the delivery or the service or the processing fee. That's not anything. That's not the tip. That's not anything. That's just for the food item that you're going to get colder than if you go in and get it yourself, being twice as much. So if you need 5 of those, you could go get it for under $50 yourself by walking in. In fact, $45. Now, if you get it through any of the food delivery apps, it will be $100 for the 5, plus the fee, plus the delivery fee, plus the service fee, plus the taxes, plus the $5 Seattle fee, plus a tip. I mean, you're looking at upward of $140 instead of $45. And that's for ordering 5 chicken kebabs from one restaurant that we did an example on. And I'm just putting it out there because if you guys understand that, you will now understand why you've seen the volume go on all of the delivery apps. And like I said, be the independent contractor that we are. Own it. Start being it. Even if you're like, I'm just not that person though yet. Doesn't matter. Start thinking that way. Start having as many, like me with curry. I'm doing them all in the morning. I'm usually done by 10:30, but I get up very early. I've altered my day. Do deliver that. I'm a big fan of delivered. I've known Chris through Paraworks for years. And I'm a big fan of what he does. I know some people like deliver that. I know some people don't like any anymore or whatever. But you know what? I'm going to talk about delivered, whether you like it or not. I'm going to say this. They're very transparent. They do all the things that I demand or that I think need to be done because they're independent contractor law. You need to be transparent about the price. You need to be transparent about how much the driver's making. And you need to be transparent with every piece of goddamn information, excuse my language, that you use, because if you have it all, like DoorDash, let's pick on DoorDash. If DoorDash has all that information, which they do, they know how much you tipped. And especially back in the day, this is what they did. They decided not to show you that. They hired more people to hide the code than they had writing the code. And if you look into any state, including California's independent contractor law, you will see that, that all independent contractor work has to be done above the board. You can do it in all kinds of different ways. Some people have said, unless you write the proposal or unless you set your price, you're not an independent contractor. That's wrong. Okay. I work for production companies. I never set my price. I accept a price, and I can also say, oh, can you come up a little bit on it? I've never had to, and I know that usually that wouldn't happen. But like what I get is a proposal. Those count too, guys. And there are some people who truly think that doesn't. It does. If somebody sends me a proposal and says, we want you to do this lighting gig on the road. You'll be at this hotel for these days. It's paid for. Here's your flights. Here's your per diem. Here's your overall pay for the time you'll be doing the show. Here's the work you'll be doing. Here's what's expected. All the details, and then some are there. And everything being paid for, and free food and per diems. And it's all explained. And it comes to me and it's like, do you want to do this? Some people are convinced that that's not independent contractorship. 100% you're wrong if you think that, because it is. That is absolutely some of the best independent contractorship. They're being totally honest. They're showing me everything. And I am not punished if I say, I got something else going on at that time, because they know I'm an independent contractor. There's no acceptance rate in the real world. They don't do acceptance rate for independent contractors. Independent contractors is supposed to allude to professionals, that you've gotten good at something that you can do on your own as your own business, or like a niche, like maybe, maybe you work for somebody, um, like there's a school here that teaches you how to work with copper. So maybe you go to school and then afterwards they can put you in a $25 an hour job. Maybe you start realizing, man, I'm making art at home out of all my welding skills and everything. And I'm going to just start doing that instead. Well, now if you've gotten good enough, you can stop working your 9 to 5 welding gig and you could just start making art at home if that's something you can do. But you got to prove that you have that skills. You got to know it inside you, and you got to go sell yourself, and you got to go sell your brand. But a lot of times just word of mouth sells your brand. Make one. And if you're that good for real and you're trying it on the weekends and you start seeing more and more customers, it might be time to quit the W-2 and go into business for yourself. Unfortunately, in the gig economy, we were all just thrown in it, right? Like I was in it before, but I can say to a lot of people, you were all just thrown into it. You're an independent contractor. Sweet. What does that mean? It means you can turn on and off the app whenever you want. Okay, well, sweet. I'm an independent contractor and it means different taxes. Okay, great. But guess what, guys? That's the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of perks that come with being an independent contractor because being your own boss is tougher than working. Some people just prefer to make the bare minimum money and go to work and do what somebody tells them, and that's what they're happy with. And if that's what you're happy with, again, if you're happy, I'm happy. Fact. Like that is just a fact. If you're happy, I'm happy. But I'm going to fight for the rights of the independent contractor because a lot of people are having bullshit pulled over their eyes. Like, no, and you can't advertise your rideshare company when you're driving for us. I don't care about the TOS box. There's judges around the country who don't give a shit about that TOS box, by the way. And we're starting to see it playing out. It's like, well, they clicked the TOS and the judges are getting mad as hell. They're like, dude, we don't care about your stupid TOS box anymore. Okay. These are not signed agreements. These are not documents being looked at by a lawyer. These are independent contractors, and you're trying to play both sides of the coin. You want to pay them like employees. You want to treat them like employees, or you want to treat them like employees. You want to pay them like independent contractors. I mean, we're starting to get some sensible people going, this doesn't really make any sense. And to that, I also had something else I wanted to bring up to you guys today because I was doing a little searching and I found, well, first of all, I found this. I want to go through this real quick. So this is saying the amount of independent contractors in the United States. So you can see it goes back to 2017 and it forecasts up to 2028. But right now in 2024, 76.4 million people in the United States are independent contractors, self-employed, freelancers, whatever you want to call them, even self-employed who own businesses and employ others. Over 70 million are, we're talking about 40, because 189 million people in the US work. 189 million have jobs and work or independent. They're making money. They're earning on some scale that's being measured and taxes are being paid. 189 million. 70 plus million of those people already are independent contractors. That's 40% of the workforce. We're not talking about little chump change here. We're talking about real deal stuff. And then I want to put out something to all of my friends in the ABC test world, because we know that the current administration has really shoved that down the throat. And if the current administration were to continue into the next realm under their new person, that's how I'll keep it. We do know for a fact she will be pushing the PRO Act for a fact. Okay. Well, I found a little something, and I don't know. I need to throw it out there. I'm in a couple of lawyer groups through Karen Anderson and Kim Cavan, two genius people, and Mike Ruby can get things out and stuff too. But I found a little tidbit here, and I want to share it with you guys. Did you guys ever heard of the vagueness doctrine? So the vagueness doctrine rests on the due process clause of the Fifth and 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. So it cites a case, Winters versus New York. And here's what it says. U.S. citizens should not have to speculate the meaning of its law due to vagueness. The law should be clear on its face. And that is from Cornell Law, and that was a finding that is used in courts now. So, you know what? That vagueness, let's bring it up one more time here. US citizens should not have to speculate the meaning of a law due to vagueness. The law should be clear on its face. Okay, so what I wanted to bring up here is, if you guys aren't too familiar, how they test your independent contractorship in California, soon to be Minnesota, Seattle. They all vary a little bit, but there's an ABC test. The B prong in California tells you can't be one. Now, on the federal level, the current administration has a 6-prong test, actually a 7. And the worst part about it is, unlike the California one was weird enough, but since it's a federal level law, it is to be considered by anybody evaluating the situation. Let me put that into different perspective. Let's say that Gary Middleton does Curry, Uber, and DoorDash only. Let's say that I do Curry, DoorDash, and Uber only. Gary goes in to find out if he can be an independent contractor. They say, yep. They look through it. Yep, you can. You're an independent contractor. Great. Sweet. Done. I could have the exact same story, the exact same stats, the exact same working hours, the exact same platforms, everything the same. And I could get a different magistrate or judge who says, no, you're not one. Well, and it happens all the time. It happens all the time. It's been happening with AB5. But here's where I want to bring this in. Wouldn't this apply? Isn't that a vagueness in the law? Because you're not being clear at all or forthright on what the hell why did Gary get it? Why didn't I? Or vice versa. Why did I get it? Why didn't Gary? If we're doing exactly the same thing, even in the same state, you don't know what the finding will be. I don't know. I'm going to have to put it out in some legal groups that I'm in, but I would think this is something, because they use these prior cases all the time to vouch for a current case. I think this vagueness doctrine is something. I think there's something there, because it is vague. It doesn't exactly how it says it there. It doesn't on its face describe so that you going into your meeting, no, I'm not going to pass this test because it's clear and it says right here, this is going to catch me. It doesn't say that. It says it will be determined on these factors. By who? And why isn't there a standard being set? So yeah, am I coming after people? Absolutely. I guess, let me see. It's one of these moments. I'm just saying, I'm going to put it out there to people because I find it to be something. The other thing that I found insulting, you guys, was, am I crazy or is this crazy? Uber hourly. As many stops as you need in one car. Change your stops on the go. Don't spend time to park. So for $30 an hour, and now remember, this is $30 an hour to Uber. What the hell are they paying me? But I'm supposed to give up an hour of my time for what? I'm guessing, let's be nice. We know that in most cases, Uber is now, in most cases, taking more than 50% of what they take from the customer and giving less than 50% to the person doing the work, you guys. So let's say that for a second that, okay, they're charging people $30 an hour. You can have as many stops you want. The driver, it doesn't even mention mileage here. What's going on with the mileage? Can they have me take them 1,000,000 miles? Do I have to do 30 stops drug dealing for them? What's going on here? But Uber's charging $30 an hour. I've done limousine and black car service, worked it for years. No car that we had was $30 an hour. Black car service, and it didn't always mean it was a black car, but black car service meant a lot of money. It wasn't too much, but it was fair. But $30 an hour through Uber, how much are they paying me? Let's be nice. Let's say 2/3. That's 66%, right? Uber taking 33. That's being extremely nice, because I don't think they've taken just 30% in 5 years on any of their things. But let's just say it for a minute. So you're going to charge 30. You're going to keep 10. I think it's more. I think it's more like almost half and half, 15. But let's be nice. You're going to keep $30 and you're going to pay me $20 to go out and drive an Uber, do as many stops as the guy wants. He can change them on the fly. I don't even get to know where I'm going. I don't get to know anything. And he can go, you know what? We're not going there anymore. Turn around. We're going. All of this sounds as sketchy as can be. And you're advertising that shit? Come on. If this was my selling point to all of you guys on how bullshit this is. Because if you're going to do this, you damn well better be handing out business cards, doing that kind of stuff, and getting your own passengers, landing your own clients, talk to people, network. It's not as hard as you think. And especially these days, there was a time when a lot of people believed that when me driving or somebody else driving, you're talking to the passenger. And even if you got into, hey, how much was this ride, by the way? And they told you, and then you told them honestly how much you were making. There was a time when the passengers were still not fully, even the majority were not fully aware yet. And they were thinking, and why wouldn't they? They were thinking, oh, this is the old taxi scam. They're going to tell me how they only make 8 of the 60 I pay. Oh, wow. Like bullshit. They're making 40. This guy's trying to play me. Now they understand the drivers aren't trying to play us. They are making crap. They might not know how bad it is, but they know. So I think that my point there is they're much more open at this point to hearing your pitch about, hey, you want to, anytime you need a ride, anytime you need catering, anything, you need your dog walked, anything you're willing to do, put a QR code in the back of your car. If you have people in it, put a QR code on it. If you have a QR code, staple it to bags. Start going for it. Again, don't do it because I said so. I'm just putting it out there as advice that I am now doing fully. I am going after everybody. And anything's free game now because of the way that it didn't have to go down like this. It still would have been okay. But I used to have a little bit of, I understand that the TOS doesn't want us doing this. And especially during the honeymoon periods, it's not just because, the volume is down. It's because of how bad they've taken advantage of it and ripped us off. They're now asking for us to exercise our right to be independent contractors. We've had it the whole time, but it's been the sleeping giant. Wake up, your sleeping giant. Start taking all that crap. Start going, you know what? Whatever. Like I was talking about Jeff earlier. Look at Jeff. I heard him the other day on a live. I think he said he turns on the apps like 5 to 10 hours a week because he has a base of customers. How much better would it be if you knew week by week you have a base of customers? And it might fluctuate. That's part of being your own boss and owning your own business, which again, whether you acknowledge it or not, you are your own business. But how would it be if, how much better would it be if only 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week, you had to turn on the apps? And it was pretty much to get the best offers you could, but also to pick up new clients, personal ones. It's called competition. It's called America. It's called competition. And the apps should really, the apps had a decade to treat us properly. They decided, screw you. We'll have robots in your place by 2017. Anybody that's been in the industry since 2015 knows that was a date. Then 2019, then 2020, then 2022, now 2025. They don't have robots coming. I mean, eventually. But I talk to people in the engineering field of autonomous and things like that. It's not even close, you guys. So they really did believe they'd get there quicker. But that's not a reason to be capping all of us and ruining the business and even for themselves. And we should absolutely be taking advantage of our rights. You're working as an independent contractor. You're just not optimizing it. Most people who only work the apps are optimizing 10% of what you could be. Because you could even find all kinds of other things you could be doing. eBay. Mostly just the stuff you are doing. You should be, if there are people who want better drivers, there are people who want shoppers that they can trust. Maybe you run into this person and you know them well and you're not even doing work for them, but you're like, hey, I'm almost like like you're kind of like a all around virtual assistant. What do you need? As long as you're willing to do it. I mean, be putting it out there to people. I'll do the ride share. I'll do this, and I'll make you better deals on everything. We can work flat rate. We can whatever makes them the most comfortable, and make it cheaper for them. It's cheaper. I don't have surge rates. We can lock it in. All that kind of stuff. Find a pitch. Start pitching people, because even if your first 3, 4 don't land, you're going to land a few. Trust me, you're going to land a few. And in that first one you do land, you're going to go, whoa. Well, it's only one, but yeah, but that one's you're going to learn very quickly that one is making you so much more. You're making more off that one than 5 trips. So go get more. Even I'm not barking at you guys. I'm barking at myself too. I need to be building out my dumpling. It's not even close. My dumpling clients pay me way more than anything else I do. So why am I not building that? It's kind of all I got for the week, but I'll see what you guys got. I'm gonna go through and see what you guys had for questions, if any, or man, I haven't been watching this at all, so I'm just now coming in the chat. What's up, y'all? I said what's up to a lot of you guys. At least I remember hearing 2019 food was dead. Yeah. If they can't run air conditioners, they can't. Yeah. I mean, honestly, this is what we were talking about here a little earlier. If you're just joining us, and this is just a fact. If you live in California and you believe that crap, I really don't know what to tell you, because this is some pretty basic stuff. You don't even need to get into the economics hole about like what we were on some things. This one's very straightforward. If the governor has to tell you to turn off your air conditioner for multiple days because the grid can't handle it, then we all know the grid can't handle every single resident of California to have an EV vehicle, which he's promising by 2028. Come on, dude. Sell your bullshit somewhere else. Yeah, no cash for me. I don't know how, to be honest, I haven't had to deal with this. I don't even know how that works. I don't know if, like everything else, like Uber Pet and all these others, Uber Teen, if there's a toggle switch that you can, the first time you see it, just go, no. Uber Cash off. I don't ever want to see cash offers. I would hope there is, because we all know that you can do things on the fly. Sometimes you might miss that cash portion and accept something because it looks decent, then find out it's cash. Me personally, I would never do one. There's just everything about it is a problem, and there's no reason we need to be doing cash. Ethics and Uber don't belong in the same sentence. That's why I said gig app ethics. I'm telling you guys, I'm giving away an idea, and I'm even telling you I'll help you start it, because I've brainstormed it, but I just don't. If I had the time, I would do it. Gig app ethics, and it would be a channel on YouTube where we go through all the problems and all the ethical ones that they're not meeting, even the law ones that they're not living up to. I mean, I talk about it a lot, but it could be a constant content for a channel, literally. Let me see what else you got. Line by line breakdown of payment. Exactly. But see, where are we talking about, Brian? Because not many places are to the line by line yet. So like in Seattle, they just raised the price of the menu items. So when you get your subtotal of what you ordered on the app, it's just more. You're not seeing how or where. If you know the restaurant well enough, like let's say you go there all the time, it's next door to your work, and you walk there for lunch, now you want it at dinner, you'd probably notice in the subtotal, like, wait a minute, I order this every day and it's $14. Why is it $27 and I'm not even to any of the fees yet? So that might be one way, but it's not going to be clear, and it's not line item. It's just going to be more money. And then the fees, the delivery fee, service fee, taxes, they don't have to line item those yet in any of the states that have this yet. And then the only thing they do line item to the customer is Seattle City Council delivery fee, $5. And that's what they have to pay per offer. So they are literally charging the customers way more. The volume's way down. Restaurants are getting beat up. And the company, here's what the apps know. The apps know we don't have to go to bat against City Hall. We can wait until these restaurants are literally on the verge of going out of business and they scream at City Hall because that will get things done and we don't even have to deal with it. Well, what about the drivers? Well, the drivers are going to get screwed till it happens. They don't care. And they're willing to go down in a few even big cities and let that happen. Go, screw you. Let's watch this unfold. And so I'm not saying that, there's no solutions. I'm just saying that's not it. But then the only line item they do pass is the $5 that they have to pay on every offer. And they just literally pass it along to you on top of all the other upcharging they've done. So it says Seattle City Council fee, $5, and they have to pay $5 on each order. But they're also charging you 100% more of fees than they were. They just happened to squeeze it in at that time. So, what's the Carnifage got here? The problem is there are not happy. They are not happy. They are not making the money like they I think they used to, is what you're saying. Are you talking about gig workers? Or the apps? Because it kind of, I'm asking because it kind of applies to both. The apps, first of all, the apps don't make a profit, but they're not even bringing in as much income as they used to. And that's with obviously lower volume, but way higher rates. So they're coming closer, but they're ripping off so many people. People don't even want to use it anymore, especially like rideshare and grocery space. That's going to find its way. And the gig economy is not going anywhere. And catering, all these like unique B2B stuff, like that's going to find its place. But food delivery, you can't look, if it already costs too much to go to McDonald's. I was just talking to a friend today about this. It already costs too much to go to McDonald's these days as it is. So if you go to McDonald's and you get like a Big Mac meal, I can go get a real hamburger, one of my favorites in Denver, for the same price as that Big Mac meal now. Now you've really stepped out of your ground, because McDonald's has never been fine dining or even close. It's acceptable. It's acceptable food, comfort food, whatever you want to call it. But it is, in the end, it's fast food. Okay. And McDonald's lost money McDonald's never loses money worldwide. They lost money last quarter and they know why. They said, this is why we have to bring back some of the value meals, because they know people are just like, dude, I'm not paying medium to high range pricing for McDonald's. This is not what this company is and never will be. What's up, Tim? How you doing, buddy? I don't know what the $12 is. This is from a while ago. When was that from? About 10, 13 minutes ago. $12. What is that? I ask everyone, how much did they pay for the ride? And then I tell them how much I'm getting for the ride minus. Yeah, I mean, the point is just, just say, hey, cancel the ride, or I'll cancel the ride, or go through with the ride and do that one off the app. But if you feel like, man, this guy's good, I got it going on with this guy, then, approach him as a private client. But even in the beginning, right out of the gate these days, it's so sad that you're an independent contractor. Well, if somebody's looking at Uber and Lyft app, you be the you app. I'm the me app. So what are you being quoted on Uber and Lyft? Looks like Lyft is $8 cheaper. I'm gonna go with Lyft. Okay, whatever Lyft is, I'll do for 70%. I'm already here. I'm going to be your driver. You want to cancel it, and I'll charge you 70%. Again, there was a time when I know other people were doing it, but I wouldn't have recommended it. Now, with the games they're playing and with the way lawmakers and everybody understand these apps, I don't think you're going to be in a bad position to do that, because they don't really have a leg to stand on in court to say, well, he's not supposed to be approaching our customers. No, you're an independent contractor. Now it's time to go to the word of the law in your state. And they're all pretty much the same. So go to the word of the law in your state and be the independent contractor. Say, okay, you know what? I am, and I'm gonna bid this different. You know what? I'm sorry. It's they asked for it. Um, they're there to land you new clients. So keep it going. Um, I now get at least 80% tips either on app or favorite cash. Okay. Um, I think you can use a website called Apt. Oh, to me, yeah, dude. I don't know about that. I don't know about that one, Tim, but I do know a couple people who are using another one, and I don't really know if you need to, is my point. I mean, just meet people. You're not gonna get people off the internet finding you, or like, oh, look at this third app, Tim rides. Like, you're not Mr. Gigwise. Like, you're not gonna find it. The only way it's gonna be known about is through, word of mouth, and you selling yourself. And at that point, why need the app? Just be you. Just book things. Um, so let me see. Okay. Well, Bubba Sue. I am screwed big time today on a 40 plus item order from Panera on DD. I delivered it and there was no tip. I actually went and spoke to the customer and she said she tipped 10%, but I didn't get it. Yeah. Isn't that the common story? Um, I don't even know what to say. I mean, Panera kept my tip. There actually was a big rumor about this when I was doing a lot of work with ParaWorks. We actually investigated this because everybody was claiming Panera was stealing tips. I don't know about, maybe with your scenario, a different scenario, but we did a very deep dive, actually exhausted some money into it too, and found out, literally, I will tell you guys honestly, they were not stealing tips. So, I mean, no more. I mean, maybe the app was, or something was happening, but everybody was convinced Panera was. And we went in and did an actual looking at all this, and they weren't. It was just, there was some like kind of glitchy thing happening, but um nah, I'm here. Um but never had issue. I called DD and they couldn't, yeah, they never can do anything. To me, like, you got to value your time too. Like, don't even, I hate to say it, but unless it's worth it, don't even bother calling. I mean, that you're going to waste 30, 40 minutes and it's going to be upsetting too. And to what, get $5? Um, but that's all I had for today, you guys. I just wanted to get on here and say hi. Hey, what's up? And what's going on? And happy week. And we're past the holiday now. Now we see. We've been talking about this. Now we see. Do the apps get some steam? Do the apps work on the offboarding of the completely nightmarish oversaturation? In some markets, they already are, but it's not for the reasons we think. We'll be talking about this in the future. It's not because they're a good company. It's not because they care about the drivers. It's because of legislation that's coming down on them. And because some legislation didn't work, there's others coming saying, you know what, even though you can have as many independent contractors, how many people do you have out in the market at any given time? And that's going to become a whole new problem that is actually winnable in every state. And if you guys already followed what I said there, you get it. But if not, we'll be going into it more in depth. But there are a lot of states now looking at, okay, let's do the old school taxi system. Let's cap them. They'll look at the night. They'll look at how many cars should be on the road per the volume, meaning they get into their books, all kinds of crazy stuff. And they'll say, Uber, on a Friday night, you can have, in this rural market, we'll keep it in a smaller market. In this rural market, on any given weeknight, you can have 30 cars. On a weekend, you can have 50 cars out. And that's it. Is that a good solution? Nope. But they brought it on themselves, and I don't know what to tell you. But that's it, you guys. Have a good one. What is it? Monday? This Wednesday, I start the live stream. Multi sloppy happen. However, I'll have curry going, I'll have delivered going, I'll have Metrobi going, I'll have dumpling going, I'll have Uber Eats going, I'll have DoorDash going, I'll have Uber going, I'll have delivered going. And I think because I made a list, it's not just going to be anything and everything. Because there's some apps that I've done a few things on, but I've decided that it's going to be these 8. And I'm gonna multi-app those, and I'm gonna bring you guys with me on the whole day. That's going to be for the rest of the month on Last Mile. Last Mile will be a long day. It will be 5 to 6, 7, 8 hours, who knows, of a live stream. And we're just going to multi-app together and see how we do through the end of this month, coming into the crazy months of the holidays and everything. See if anything's turned around. Has it got better? Has it got worse? But until then, guys, listen, be good, be safe, be good to each other. And that's all I got for the week. Or for today. Wednesday, we'll talk more. Be good, everybody. Peace. She was just a baby. Hey, no waitress, pour me another cup of coffee. Pop it up and jack me up and shoot me out. Flying down the highway. I'm looking for the morning. Ooh, I'm driving my life away. Looking for a better way. By the way, hopefully you're hearing my voice. Tomorrow night, Kim has Chris Heffernan, CEO and founder of Delivered. Catch it live with Kim. Good night, everybody.